Madam Speaker, I rise today in honor of my dear friend, Norm Mineta, who I feel like I have known almost forever. Just a little fact of history, I remember meeting him first when my late husband, Bob Matsui, decided to run for Congress. Norm was obviously the first one on the phone to Bob and saying, go for it, and the first one to write a check to him. You remember those things. And he has been someone who has always encouraged people all the way and never forgetting. And my colleagues here, especially Congressman Takano, mentioned how he was impacted by Norm Mineta. Norm's compassionate spirit, hard work on behalf of the people of San Jose and our nation, and advocacy for the Japanese American community were evident to all those who had the privilege of knowing him. He simply made America a better place, a more hopeful place. We know the immense impact he had across his career. His advocacy, passion, and legislative acumen, his leadership in both good times and bad. Norm's life was full of trailblazing accomplishments and achievements. He was the first Asian American mayor of San Jose, and he always talked about being mayor. He absolutely loved it. The founder of CAPAC, and the first Asian American to serve in a presidential cabinet. Yet for all those who knew him, it was his character, his generosity, and his tireless drive to speak out for the underrepresented that truly impacted everyone around him. We all know he was a gifted legislator and perceptive leader. He championed hundreds of pieces of legislation on everything from economic development to transportation to civil rights. He transformed our transportation sector and adeptly led us through some of the toughest times. He had a remarkable career, yet we all know his childhood was full of uncertainty. He was only 10 years old when Norm was incarcerated alongside tens of thousands of fellow Japanese Americans. He was a Boy Scout. Because of those painful memories, he became a fierce advocate for justice and civil rights. He became a champion of the Japanese American community. Together with my late husband, Bob Matsui, and their colleagues, Senator Danny Inoue and Senator Sparky Matsunaga, they worked to pass the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, fighting tirelessly to educate Americans about the terrible prejudices and injustices that led to the Japanese American incarceration during World War II. People from the Japanese American community were at first reluctant to come forward to tell their stories because they had gone through this and they had survived. And they're truly Americans going back to their communities. But with the telling of the stories, which is so encouraged, the healing began in the community, which is so important. You know, all of us take what is in us, what we learned, and we forge our own path. We don't know where the journey will take us, but along the way, we find what is best in ourselves. Norm Mineta truly exemplified that. He broke barriers. He excelled at every step of his career. Yet he was always driven by the need to improve the lives of those he served. He made sure our priorities stayed in line, that our ambitions for change and justice came directly from the people we serve. He saw our country in all its potential and fought tirelessly tirelessly to give others the opportunity to succeed as he did. He wanted everyone to succeed, from every walk and place in life. You see, Norm's story is an American story. It is a Japanese-American story, but it is everyone's story who is an American. He showed us that the American tapestry shines brightest when it includes all of us equally, that we can all lead with compassion and understanding. That ethos is sewn into the fabric of his legacy. We can continue to honor his memory by following his beacon of light and learning from the courage he carried and promoted in others. All of us can follow the example of Norm Mineta. At this difficult time for all of us, my prayers are especially with all of Norm's families and friends. I know they are hurting as we are, but we recall the wonderful person he was and will carry with us his legacy. We will all truly miss him. With that, I yield back.
Thank you for those wonderful words, Congressmember Matsui. There are others that wanted to be here but had conflicts, and they wanted me to read their statements. From Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, he says, "After I was elected to the House in 1981, Norm